There has already been a landmark deal at COP28, the climate summit in Dubai, underway. The leaders' speeches are underway as well this morning after a keynote address from King Charles.
I pray with all my heart that COP28 will be another critical turning point towards genuine transformational action at a time.
The longtime environmentalist addressing government leaders and high-level officials from some 200 nations. The international community is coming together to try to plot action to respond to the challenges of climate change. And Susan Ormiston is our international climate correspondent in Dubai today.
There are a lot of HRHs in this country already. The U.A.E. is ruled by a monarch. It's a kingdom. But today they invited the other one, King Charles, in part because of his long record of environmental credentials. We've been hearing from Prince Charles over the years and decades, really, about the perils to the environment. And today he kind of wryly nodded at that when he spoke to the leaders' conference today. Let's listen in.
I've spent a large proportion of my life trying to warn of the existential threats facing us over global warming, over climate change and biodiversity loss. Ladies and gentlemen, in your hands is an unmissable opportunity to keep our common hope alive. I can only urge you to meet it with ambition, imagination, and a true sense of the emergency we face.
Heather, you know, these conferences can be a bit dry. It's UN-sponsored and they have protocol, but the opening leaders this morning was quite interesting. They had a little bit of Hollywood kind of production and presentation. They had big words across screens, and one of those is, "The world doesn't need more words, it needs action." And that's really the slogan here, is quit talking, start doing. And of course, the perils of what's happening to our climate, the hottest year on record, those were mentioned by several of the speakers, including King Charles, who talked about Canada.
Canada experienced its most severe wildfire season on record, with 18.5 million hectares of land burned, causing terrible loss of life and property, and of course, releasing enormous amounts of greenhouse gases.
So we're hearing a lot about greenhouse gases, of course, and the emissions. One of the things that these delegates and government designates will have to grapple with in the upcoming negotiations, Heather.
Susan, looking there as we were at the family photo, the representatives from all of the countries taking part, one of which is, of course, Canada. And it opened the Canadian Pavilion today. The Environment Minister, Steven Guilbeault, there, and he has already been making news on this day, too.
Indeed. We reported yesterday about this loss and damage fund, which is essentially a pot of money that was agreed to start last year at COP. And this year, in fact, on the first day yesterday, money was pledged to that fund. It's to help poorer countries. Countries are most affected by climate disasters, with money to repair and mitigate all these calamities. So today, Steven Guilbeault, the Minister of Climate Change and the Environment for Canada, weighed in with Canada's contribution.
Canada will be pledging $16 million to the Loss and Damage Fund. We think this is a significant step forward. I think it will also help create goodwill and trust building in these negotiations.
And that is an important point. There needs to be goodwill, there needs to be trust if you're going to find a consensus among, 190 countries or so. And that fund was $450 million yesterday. This is another 16, and we expect other countries will be putting up their pledges as well to loss and damage. One of the key things at this conference.
That's international climate correspondent Susan Ormiston in Dubai.